It is considered Canada's most celebrated military victory, of course, the Battle of Vimy Ridge, which we study in high school, and of course we remember on days like today. It was a 4-day fierce battle. It was the time when historians say Canada certainly came of age. Jeremy Diamond, Executive Director of Vimy Foundation, joining me now. You know, when we look back to Canada's role in the wars, Vimy Ridge obviously is the one thing that I think a lot of people can identify, because it was a real turning point for Canada. It was a very symbolic point in history for us.
Absolutely. I think that what we look back 100 years, remember that 2014 is the 100-year anniversary of the start of the First World War. So it's a great opportunity to reflect back on that time. And Vimy was one of these turning points. It was the first time that Canadians fought together. It was the innovation, the teamwork, the working as one unit that had never happened in Canada before that. So we look back on that as definitely a turning point in Canadian history. And now we look, it's on our money. It's on the $20 bill. It's in our passport. It's in the citizenship guide.
It should be, though, because I don't think people understand the loss. Yeah. I mean, the significant loss, you know, over 10,000 injured and killed in this short 4-day battle that truly showed how tough Canadian soldiers were.
Think about it this way. We had a population in this country of 8 million people in 1917. 100,000 men fought at Vimy. So we served 600,000, we lost 60,000 in the war. You're talking like 7–8% of a population. Yeah. Think of the math now with a 35 million person population. It's staggering.
When you look to days like this, obviously, I know in your household you're learning about Remembrance Day, and I know that you're teaching it to your children. What is it that you think is the most valuable lesson we can teach to younger people today?
Well, I think the service and sacrifice is something that kids today just don't understand. We are very lucky in Canada to not have had to serve a war in our country.
But even when we do, we are at war right now, and for us, it's like, it might as well be an app, because we don't understand what our men and women are sent into. We just cannot understand it.
And it is and that's the reason I think we need to remember and honor on this day, because it is such a foreign concept to people. War is on TV, war is on video games, war is on apps, as you said. War isn't real to a lot of people. How do we make it relevant? We take students at the Vimy Foundation, 16, 17-year-olds, and send them over to Europe for a week, for 2 weeks, to walk through the footsteps of history and get an idea of who these people were and what they did. And if the tables were turned and they lived 100 years ago, they were the same age as those soldiers. Yeah. Then it really hits home, and that's how we make the connection.
Yeah, you know, you look at the footage that we have, and we have such limited footage today of what these guys went through. I mean, the weather was a huge factor. The terrain was incredible, the starvation. I mean, what our Canadian soldiers went through to fight for what we have today is truly incredible, because they didn't have the technology. I mean, half of them were wearing kilts because that's what the general or whomever at the point deemed was the proper thing to do. I mean, you're wearing a kilt in minus 20-degree weather.
And also, these weren't professional soldiers. We train our soldiers now a hell of a lot different than we trained our soldiers then. These are farm boys. These are 15, 16, 17-year-old kids in some cases that said, hey, I'd like an adventure. I'd like to go overseas. My buddy's going. Let's go. They had no idea what they were getting in for. So I think that looking at it that way really has a heightened sort of appreciation for those that came back and those that paid the ultimate sacrifice, to be sure.
And so when you meet young people today, is there a hunger for them to learn? I mean, do they walk away saying, gee, I never looked at it like that?
More and more. I think that this is a really positive thing that I'm seeing with young people in classrooms. I speak to young people all the time. We send them overseas. There is this thirst and this energy that people have for learning more about our history, and let's give them that opportunity. And Remembrance Day is a perfect opportunity. The centennial of the First World War, perfect opportunity. Canada's 150th birthday and Vimy centennial are happening in 2017. Another great opportunity. So let's use these times to be able to highlight these important issues and topics and get these kids involved. If they are not, then it dies.
I truly worry when Ezra exposes something like the Greater Essex County District School Board, you know, arbitrarily, you know, changing history to accommodate, you know, new Canadians who are here, or Muslims or certain groups. It worries me about how we are going to remember history in the future. I wonder in 20 years, will my son even know what a cenotaph is? Will he even understand? I mean, he'll know because I'll teach him. Your child will know because you'll teach him. I worry about those who don't have a direct link to war, if they'll be, you know, inspired to remember.
And I think it's why it's up to these sort of teenagers to feel connected to this. It's up to our teachers and our school boards to be able to teach remembrance, teach the significance of the poppy, teach the significance of taking 2 minutes to remember. We got busy lives.
I know.
2 minutes is not a long time considering what we're remembering.
And so there's a couple of concerns. You know, you're against the day off. I'm against this national day off. I think it's the wrong direction. I think as long as a kid is in a classroom, then at least they'll hopefully make the programming about this day, which will continue the education. I worry a day off will just be spent at the shopping mall or watching TV or playing video games. So there's two things. You've got this new poll that suggests people are actually starting to want to go out to the cenotaphs. And then you've got this national movement to make it a holiday, which could be counteractive. Yeah,
I think that when you're asking people, do you think that we should have a day off? I think people would say, yeah, I'd love a day off. I think that you bore down to it a little bit, though. I think many people are going to think that the impact is just going to be much lessened than it would be if you were working that day or had to make a little bit of an effort to put on a poppy and to take 2 minutes and to go to a cenotaph. Remember, there's many ways of commemorating and remembering. It's not only having to go to a cenotaph for an hour. Everybody can do it in their own way. But if you provide a whole day, especially if it falls on a Friday or a Monday, you're talking long weekend, you're talking going to the mall. I don't necessarily think, and we don't at the foundation, that this will lead to more observance.
No, and I think you know, it may play well in the next couple of years, but long term, 20, 30 years down the road, it just becomes another day off.
We have many days off in this province. Civic holiday in August. Who knows that that's for Simcoe Day, the first Lieutenant
no one
Governor.
actually knows what
no one knows
means.
that. Victoria Day is less and less sort of resonance in a lot of people's minds. We can't let that happen with this day.
But this study, you seem to have some optimism. I mean, look, we had 2 soldiers killed in the last 2 weeks because of terrorism, which has heightened everyone's awareness.
More than 80% feel that they're going to take 2 minutes wherever they are.
Yeah.
They're in a factory, they're at home, they're at work, they're at school. More than 80% of those say that they're going to wear a poppy and plan to wear a poppy this year. And 18% of Canadians said that they were going to attend a Remembrance Day ceremony 5 years ago. It's 30% now. Numbers are going up. Youth engagement's going up. I think there's a positive story here for sure.
Yeah, I hope you're right. And I would urge all of you, if you can't watch it on TV or get out to the cenotaph, I don't care what you're doing. Stop. Stop at that 11th. Just stop for 2 minutes and just be quiet and reflect and remember. That's really all it takes. I want to thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Alex.
Jeremy.